Welcome to Planet Raconteur, where we who tell stories rule this world. I am your host, Yuck Nasty, and I will be your guide into our world that is filled with sights and sounds, both wonderful and frightening. Our first story of the night is a fun one, and I hope you have fun listening to it. Here is an open letter to the rulers of Erathon from Xagaz Windowbane by Evan Dicken.
I just come from a long line of bad men. It's not unusual, you know. Scratch the gilding from any royal family, and you're bound to find a seething mess of rapists, traitors, and mass murderers. Your ancestors were the same, sir. Difference is, mine were better at it. But enough about me. My viziers tell me the imperial coffers are at a low ebb, and so, with the greatest respect and humility, it falls to me to inform you of the forthcoming annexation of your lands. No doubt my ignoble diplomats stand before you even now, proud in their jeweled silk, paunchy and sallow skin from long excesses. Puffed like winter birds, they will strut and preen, demanding tribute for their terrible master, and threatening dire retribution should you demur. It might interest you to know that also, like birds, it pleases me to fit the windows of their manses and high towers with golden bars, easily broken, and yet none shows so much as a scratch. Better to be a slave in heaven? Isn't that what they always say? Feel free to execute them. I have too many ministers, and to be honest, they more than deserve it. All I ask is that you do me the courtesy of returning their heads, along with a note about how you will never submit to the empire of weeping skulls. I know I'm not fond of that name either, but it's something of a tradition here, like marrying brother to sister, or tallow binding the children of our defeated foes into the palace lamps. Well, that's not really a tradition so much, dear boy, as a matter of efficiency. The innocents do burn the brightest after all. But I digress. No doubt you're feeling somewhat out of sorts. Feel free to insult me, my ancestry, the Empire, close your borders, strengthen your defenses, execute suspected spies and traitors. I can give you the names of more than a few. Even send heroes to defeat me. Really, a very good assassination attempt would take a lot of the pressure off, don't you think? And don't worry, I'll make sure to have a few of your loved ones killed to put us on even footing. My armies have been gathering for years, but I think you'll agree, these things flow so much better with some manner of inciting incident. Speaking of my armies, and you're going to love this, sir. Remember noble Uliashtai? Ranks of tall, grim warriors, high helms and shields bearing the sigil of the Grey Tower. How many generations did they stand alone like a sea cliff against the breaking tide of imperial dominion? Proud men and women. How it cut them to beg you on their knees for aid, and I understand your reluctance. You had your own problems, sir. Rebels, bandits, pretenders, a wild tangle of impatient heirs plotting your death. The Empire was a distant bogeyman, A threat for another day, another generation. You've probably forgotten all about Uliashtai. Well, they have not forgotten you. Their warriors fight just as well for the Weeping Skull as they did against me. Better even, now that I've given them health care and retirement options. I know it's not really my place to give advice, but have you considered allying against me? Although I'll make my conquest a bit more difficult, I can't help but feel you'll be better for setting aside those specters of vengeance that have haunted your diplomacy for all of these years. Does it really matter whose great-uncle killed whose second cousin once removed? I'm almost certainly going to torture, disembowel, then slowly impale your entire extended family. Sorry I had to say that. People have certain expectations of a tyrant, but I don't need to tell you. Don't surrender, sir, unless you really mean it. I much prefer the honesty of agonized screams to horrified deference. I could promise you wealth, power, glory beyond your most reasonable dreams. But we both know that you won't sway that way. Even if it did, I wouldn't really want someone so easily purchased, would you? In fact, I'm a bit curious as to why you're still reading this. I would think we're far past the point any noble ruler would have cast this parchment away in disgust and ordered their best armor aired out. Well, go on. I've got a whole footnote set aside for you in the Imperial Histories. I'll try to see to it that this particular page is inscribed on your flensed skin, but I'm not making any promises. Still, it's the least I can do in exchange for the generous gift of a nice long moment of your time. Yours in rule, although not for much longer, X. Oh, P.S. Of course, this paper is covered in contact poison.
When you are playing video games, do you ever imagine that you were on that ship, blowing those asteroids up? Our next story is for those of you that have. Here is Damn the Asteroids, Full Speed Ahead by Tom Jolly.
Damn the Asteroids, Full Speed Ahead by Tom Jolly. Captain Marcus Halsey stared in dismay at the dense careening field of asteroids on the display screen. His chief scientist, Obu Sababu, shook his head.
They're smacking into each other constantly. Look how close they are.
The captain frowned and nodded.
All moving, and only a few hundred meters between each one. How does a field like this come into existence?
Obu hacked up a hairball to show his irritation and spit it into a ceramic cup that the John carried for just such a purpose.
Short answer? It cannot. If the gorm-bucking asteroids are banging into each other that often, breaking up all the time, the field is going to get wider as the kinetic energy is distributed and the outer edges expand. The object will slow down as impact energy becomes heat, you see. Over just a few years, a dense asteroid field like this one will be so spread out and the energy so averaged out that the rocks will barely be in view of each other. For the most part, all headed in the same direction. Or it's dense enough to coalesce into a planet, and the planet would sweep up most of the loose bits. Either way, it will not last.
Their ship had parked over 100 kilometers from the outer edge of the vast field. And just in the time they'd sat there, the field had expanded toward them by a good 5 kilometers. Even now, the number of impacts was falling.
We're supposed to fly through this crap, Chief Pilot? That's what High Command told us, Captain. There are some new planets we're supposed to explore on the other side. If we want to stay on schedule, we'll have to fly through while rocks are still spinning around and slamming into everything.
But what if we just wait one day?
Then all the rocks will be a few kilometers away from each other. You'll really irritate High Command, though.
Captain Halsey rubbed his chin.
Yeah, you can tell them we had a loose engine belt or something. How long do you suppose this asteroid field has been there? Running the action backwards? I'd say about 30 minutes, Captain. The only time I've seen asteroids this thick and fast is in some of those silly movies you Earthlings used to eat up.
This, the captain thought, coming from the guy who hacked up hairballs. He scowled at Obu.
30 minutes? Why, that's... impossible.
The Mordu cleric on the bridge spoke.
This adds to the other 29 indices of simulation.
This was part of the Mordu religious belief that all creatures were living in a simulation created by a higher dimensional civilization. Subcults within the religion suggested that they were part of a video game, reality show, or some vast experiment. One of the other incidences was the strange fact that all intelligent creatures looked about the same. No plasma forms, gas bags, or tentacle monsters. It was almost like their creator had a small budget to work with. Also, there was the bizarre coincidence that their technological levels all appeared to be within hundreds of years of one another, despite evolving thousands of light years apart. The list was long.
Well, let's just wait it out then,
said the captain.
When the cloud of rubble expands far enough to be safe...
Alarm sounded.
Captain?
The first mate said.
A Relot attack vessel just appeared on our port bow upper quad. It appears to be powering up its mega beam. Our only possible escape is to run through the asteroid field and hope we can dodge all the asteroids.
The Mordu cleric started laughing. The end.
And finally, our last tale of the night poses a very serious question. Who is the conquered and who is the conqueror? This story is by Jarod K. Anderson, and it is called Conqueror Sickness.
Pound your chest and threaten the sun. See if it blinks. See if it even notices. When expeditions from Western countries visit our mountain, we do what we can to make them feel brave. We teach our young to gasp at their armor, to touch their biceps with reverence, to stare at their weapons and fair hair as if such things were beyond our comprehension. It's a simple transaction. They trade goods and coin for our hospitality. So we treat them like half-crazed conquerors of holy terrors. Not overgrown children, too proud to listen to plain sense. If what they want from us simple native folk of the village, who survive and thrive, and do our best not to condescend to the empty ones, from wealthy lands where gods are unseen things, just matters of books and stories, not wonders real and vital as the sea. Of course, the sea is not a plaything either. Neither is the serpent. The group that arrived last night tinkled with tiny bells as they walked. 24 men in mirrored breastplates, carrying ornate swords with no signs of use or wear. They were proud and sunburnt, stinking of sweat and tobacco. Their standard bearer pointed and swayed in the heat, beneath a black banner crowned with embroidered silver flowers I did not recognize. Their leader spoke in proclamations.
We will have food and fresh water now.
We made his proclamations a reality and let his servants pay us out of sight, preserving his fantasy. This group is typical. We show them the path through the jungle because it is not a secret. We describe the mountain and the ways that lead below because they're not a secret. We ask them not to go because we are not cruel. They go anyway. If you're thinking we should do more to protect these fools, well, I sympathize with your point of view. Know that we have tried. I have tried. I remember one night at Mergu's Inn that I shared a drink with a round, good-natured man with a gray braided beard and a swollen pink nose. What is it that you hope to achieve here? I asked him. Tell me what you expect to win. He looked at me with a kind, patronizing expression that I've come to know, as well as I know my own daughter's face.
That thing in the mountain is no god.
All right, I said to him. I don't require you to believe as I do.
It's a monster, a dragon. I will sail home with its skull as a trophy for my home and my lord. You and your village will be safer for it.
Well, what if I told you I have seen it? This thing you call a monster. What if I told you there is no dragon? If I told you its least tooth is larger than your ship? That its body coils down into the heart of the world, and its feathers shine like a cloudless sky, even in the dark beneath the mountain. That right now, at its deep and ancient sleep, it can still see and hear you where you sit, and understand your thoughts better than you yourself understand them. The man chuckled and took another drink, rivers of liquor sparkling in his beard.
You make your priest proud, my articulate friend. But even if it knows we're coming, it can't hope to survive. How could it prepare for us, We'll drag cannons through the forsaken jungle if we have to. Its death is a foregone conclusion, my little host.
I pressed on with him. There is no outcome here but retreat or death. Simply go and touch the mountainside as we do, and you will see a vision of the serpent, a vision you can mercifully understand and contain. We'll praise your sense and bravery. If you insist on seeing more, then at least prepare. Stay and train with our holy women to endure what you hope to see. Don't do this thing. Live to return with a tale to tell. You need no trophy beyond your knowledge and what you gain from it. I'm certain the story alone will bring you renown. It was not a hard speech to make. I have made it before. Many of us have made it before. And as much as we hated that any story had gone abroad to bring such men here, we would have honored my advice. The man smiled kindly and gave my shoulder a squeeze.
You are generous to worry so, but your God is not my God and will have no such power over me.
I wanted to shake him, to scream at him, to tell him that this was no matter of faith or philosophy. This was walking into fire and thinking that pure belief would keep you from burning. I did and said no such things. I thanked him for his company and went to bed. The next evening, I watched the last survivor of his party stagger back into the village. With prismatic eyes and slack jaws. Moments later, he died of what we call the all sickness. And his body flickered out of existence like a flash of fish scales beneath the water. I have had many such conversations and witnessed many such aftermaths. Perhaps you think we should hide what we know, protect them with our silence. If you believe that, then you don't know these visitors like I do. The wealthy believe they own everything to one degree or another, including our knowledge, our lives, and our homes. When the water rises, you build a boat or a dike. My people are sailors. We do not build fortifications against the sea. We ride on top of it. Don't think we haven't tried both options and learned from our mistakes. We can have their swords or their coin before they go to the mountain. We choose the coin. In the morning, I watched the Black Banner party consult with our guides and disappear into the trees, their bells tinkling. They carry equipment I've never seen before. Metal casts and short, stocky handheld cannons. This sight makes me cold. I do not fear for the serpent, but I fear for the rest of us. I fear what those men and their new weapons represent. If I tell a man he can't harm the sun, but he burns the world in his attempt, what comfort can I take in being correct? Men like these visitors see any prohibition as a threat to their liberty. It's a kind of sickness. They make freedom into a ravenous god. They feed it wealth and flesh and lives. But there is no talk of satiation. Their freedom is hunger for hunger's sake. Consumption, not nourishment, is the soul of their starving religions. The standard bearer sulks out of the jungle, crestfallen. Black banner slung over his shoulder like a fishing pole. They sent him back to stay with the ship and keep an eye on the sinister natives. In a day or 10, he will accept that his party is lost. I look after my people's safety, and it will be a mercy to me if he feels honor-bound to go beneath the mountain in search of his countrymen. If not, he will rant and rave and demand as we march on our own sacred mountain in solidarity with the fools we try to spare. He cannot sail home alone. One of us, usually me, will then have to do the merciful thing and open his throat. We'll sail their tall ship out and give it to a strong current. Then canoe back to shore. There will be no evidence of their time here. No patterns. They never arrived. There is nothing to avenge. No reason to send an army. No reason to annex our small village and declare us part of some empire. Just tall tales and unconfirmed rumors. We are not cruel, but nor are we children. I nod at the standard bearer as he passes, and he gives me a gap-toothed smile. He can't be more than 14 years old. If any of these men would stop to learn from us, we would teach them that the serpent sleeps out of kindness. It is not inherently good. Inherently good things deserve little praise for following their natures. This serpent hungers for meat. It aches to break mountains and drink oceans. But it sleeps. It is not tired, nor content, nor comfortable, but it sleeps. It sleeps because its wisdom declares that empathy is the only virtue that means anything. The only virtue worthy of praise. So I let myself feel the pain of the standard bearer's smile. I feel it like watching my own children shiver with fever. I feel it like a rotten tooth pounding out agony with the beat of my heart. I feel it, and my conscience begs to let his looming death at the feet of the Conqueror Sickness. But I will own the blame for as long as I can bear it.
Well, there you go. Another trip to Planet Raconteur. On behalf of myself and our two fine Raconteurs, Papa Dave and Bobby Anthem, we would like to thank you for listening once again. All of the stories presented on Planet Raconteur are used by permission or are in the public domain. Check out the show notes for details on the authors, their websites, and their other releases. And if you like what we are doing, please subscribe and follow us on all of our social media platforms. The links will be found in those same show notes. Much love, and thank you again for visiting the Planet Raconteur.